to introduce Mr. Tommy Martinez, who is presently directing his second administration as president of Ascension Parish. Tommy served as an Ascension Parish police juror before having the honor of being elected as the parish's first president in 1992 after the old police jury system was abolished. After serving an initial 2-year term, he was re-elected in 1994. Then he returned to the presidency, where he was elected in 2007, taking oath of office January of 2008. Tommy has been married to Teresa for 34 years. They have 3 children and 6 grandchildren. Here to inform us about a very important item on the November 6th upcoming ballot is our parish president, Mr. Tommy Martinez.
I appreciate that, Sonny, but I'm going to have to update that bio. Been married 36 years now, and I do have 7 grandchildren. I recently had one 2 weeks ago, so 6 girls and 1 boy. But I appreciate it, and I don't have $500 to give out today, but hopefully we can give you a lot of information and do what we need to do. It's certainly an honor and a privilege to be here today. And it's also an honor to serve the people of Ascension Parish at this time in our history. To me, it's never been a better time. We've got a great group of elected officials. We work well together. We're getting a lot of things done. Starting to see a lot of orange barrels out there on the road. And, it's a lot of good things coming. And I'll touch on that in a minute. Also, I want to take this opportunity to thank the Chamber. They've done several projects with the Leadership Ascension program that benefit all the citizens of Ascension Parish. We have a mass casualty bus was one of the projects. We have an oxygen trailer, that an event similar to Gustav and Ike and those type hurricanes or any other kind of catastrophe. We can get oxygen to people that really need it. That was something that we had a lack of, and it was really tough to get on the phone and get calls that our people need oxygen. If they don't get it in an hour, they're going to die. I mean, it's kind of when you're sitting at that emergency response office. So great. This year, I think it was a portable cook kitchen in the event. There's another catastrophe, and of course, I keep saying hopefully we don't have any more, but in my 5 years this time, I think we've had 3 hurricanes, 2 snowstorms, and 2 tornadoes for sure. So you never know with the weather these days what's going to happen. But as I said about economic times, this is a great time to be in Ascension Parish. I think it's a great time to be in business in Ascension Parish. We have so many new announcements in the petrochemical industry, and Mike Eads is here today, and his office has done an excellent job. I don't see Deanna. Is she way back there? But kudos to them. Last year we had $1.3 billion worth of new announcements. This year so far, I think we're close to $2 billion with the last 2 that actually were announced recently, Avalon and Methanex. Those are combined about $1 billion, those 2. We hope to hear at the end of this month about another $2 billion. So at the end of this year, we should be approaching $4 to $5 billion in new announced projects and also in expansions. And I've had the opportunity in the last couple weeks to speak to several of the plant managers and corporate people. There's a lot of other interests, and that's not due mostly to what we do, but it's due to the price of natural gas being so low. And natural gas is the stock fuel for most of the products that are made along this corridor. I was listening to Channel 2 this morning, and Lauren Scott's report said that there would be, in the chemical corridor here, 22,000 new jobs created next year, 2013. So we've got about, I guess, total at this point about $7 billion that's announced. BASF's going to actually break ground October 23rd. A lot of the rest of the projects are going to start in 2013. So we're going to have a major influx of people in here. We're going to have a lot of new businesses coming to Ascension Parish in the surrounding area. And we're hoping also that next year will be even bigger and better. And if that happens, I would just tell you that never in the history of Ascension Parish has there been this much economic activity. So again, we've been blessed throughout this depression. We've held our head above water. All the government agencies are doing well. Taxes are up. When I say that, I'm here today to tell you about a new proposed tax, but taxes are up. Things are good. But still, with all the influx of new things coming in here, as Barney well knows, you heard him, they building hotel after hotel, and if you look around, everything's developing. That's not going to quit. It's going to continue. But with that, we need infrastructure, and that's the main problem. We ran a poll 4 years ago. We asked people, what's the #1 problem facing the residents of Ascension Parish? By far, traffic congestion. What's the second most important thing? Traffic congestion. Okay? So we ran a poll again this 4 years. Overwhelmingly, I mean, nothing was even close to it. What's the #1 problem? Traffic congestion. #2, traffic congestion. And we've been working on a plan for about 2 years. And of course, people don't build roads for free. We've been working with our legislative delegation. They've done an excellent job. Highway 73 is under construction at this time. They had a lane from interstate to airline. Parish government had to put up $4 million for that project. 42 years. Juba's here. We started working on Highway 42 in the early 90s. Finally, that project has been funded. So I will tell you that's been the #1 priority of my entire life, because when my kids were at St. Teresa, I had 3 young kids that got killed on the curve, and I made that a pledge that as long as I could, I would always try to make that the #1 priority here in Ascension Parish. So it makes me feel good to know that that project is going to finally get done. But that's not enough. We got to continue what we're doing with the influx of all these people coming in. You know, when I first took office, we had 58,000 people in 1991 that was in Ascension Parish. I checked the voter registration rolls yesterday. We now have 71,000 registered voters. So, you know, it just goes to show you over the past 20 years what has happened here. We probably, the census shows that we had about 110,000. I would tell you that I would say that I know we had at least 120,000 just by the number of registered voters. Generally, we used to take, it was half of what the registered voters was. That would be half of the population, because you're not counting kids and everything else. But anyway, the problems are still there. We have other infrastructure projects that we're looking at with sewer, but again, we're going to tackle roads. We've come up with what I think is a great plan. What we want to do today is to inform you about that plan, answer any questions that you do have about that plan. As Sonny said, there's a whole lot of rumors about things, and people say things that are not quite true, if that shocks you. But anyway, we want to be upfront with this. We put this election during a major election. You know, a lot of people say, well, they're putting it on an off-year election. Well, we're not doing that. We want as many people that can vote to vote on this issue, because we really think that people are going to be for it. When we ran the poll, 70% said that they would totally support any road project that would be dedicated and the roads would be named, similar to the Green Light program in Baton Rouge, which I think was a great program and still is ongoing. So that's kind of how we came up with the idea. So at this juncture, to save time, I'm going to ask Mike Sonji to come up. He actually did the Green Light program, and he's helping us to organized this and helped us develop this program and planning. And hopefully, you know, master plan seems to be a bad word, huh, Boo, in Ascension Parish, but this is a great master plan for transportation, and hopefully we can get a master plan for the entire parish back on track. So anyway, without any further ado, I'm going to ask Mike Sonji to please come up.
Thank you very much, Tommy. CSRS is very honored to help the parish in this endeavor. Our firm represented the Planning Commission in about a 3 or 4 year period before and after Katrina, when really the rampant growth was occurring here in the parish. So we're very familiar with the trouble spots. We know that you have a great north, south, east, west grid of roads. Most of them are state highways. The problem that you have, as you all know, is your intersections are 4-way stops with no turn lanes. And that works good from 9 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. But it doesn't work before that, and it doesn't work after that. So it's not an uncommon problem for a rural developing parish. We also understand very much the rural nature of your parish, and we want to protect that. And I think that's very important for the citizens to understand. As Tommy mentioned, we've been at this 1.5 years, 2 years. We had some familiarity. We've met with DOTD. As I mentioned, a lot of the routes are state routes, so DOTD needed to be part of this plan, and they are. So we've worked up a very comprehensive plan, and we're pleased to unfold it. The name of the program, Lanes for Change. And when I finished with the boring engineering presentation, you're going to have a salesman come up, and I'm going to give you the options, and he's going to tell you which lever to pull. So, but anyhow, we can go into the program. We're going to get right into the project. First, I want to say that we have a website, lanesforchange.com. Very easy to remember. Put it in, log it into your iPad right now. All of this data, list of projects, dollar amounts of the expenditures is in the website. It's public information. There's nothing we want to have full disclosure on our program, but it's obviously a parish-wide program to address congestion. The second bullet is the actual language from the referendum that specifically says what we can spend this on, and that is to build roads in the parish and a specific list of roads. We're going to go right into Airline Highway. It's your major north-south corridor. It's a federal route. It carries a lot of traffic. The first thing we want to do is take this local tax money and to be able to apply our local match and to encourage and get some federal funds to help us with this. We have plans to do additional lanes on Airline from the northern edges of the city limits of Gonzales up to 42. As well as 3 major intersections on Airline Highway. Once again, we're going to maximize the use of federal funds with this and use the tax money as the local match. I want to say a little bit about how we selected the projects. You see on this map Airline Highway and I-10, but you also see a square, so to speak, in gray that we're calling the future regional corridor. DOTD has jurisdiction over the majority of the roads in this parish because this parish used to be a lot of small communities, and that's what the State Highway Department did. They connected the dots. But today it's all kind of grown together. The concept here is that we want to take people traveling from Livingston down to the industrial corridor and back, and we really want to route them around the center part of the parish. We don't want to encourage traffic to come through there. So the routes in gray, the square that you see, those are the routes that DOTD wants to keep. They want to focus on those. They want to help us with those. And in their mind, those are the routes where they are trying to move traffic in a regional basis. The rest of the projects in the program you will see are much more local in nature. So when you talk about regional corridor improvements, what we're going to do around that gray square that I showed you is to pick out the major intersections or the choke points and make improvements to those intersections. We're going to design them such that in the future those intersections can be connected with 4-lane divided highways. But for the moment, we've got to tackle the intersections. All of these projects, once again, it's going to be local tax dollars putting up the match. We will get started on engineering immediately. We'll get started on right-of-way acquisition. But the whole intent is to garner federal money and state money to make improvements on the routes that the state wants to keep in the long term. So a lot of big projects here. I think these will do a world of good, and it's going to set the stage for a regional plan for the future. Local corridor improvements within the bulk of these are within the center part of the parish, and we'll have a map in a minute that ties all this together. But this is the very specific list of intersections within the center part of the parish. As I mentioned, most of these are two-lane roads intersecting with four-way stop signs, and we'll be looking at a combination of either roundabouts or signalized intersections, and we'll get into that in a minute. But once again, this list is on the website. If you don't have time to read it all, there's plenty of information on the website. Bridge replacements, we all know federal dollars are shrinking. The off-system, what was known as the off-system bridge program, which funded a lot of the replacement of bridges in the parish, it's still there, but the dollars have shrunk. And it shrunk to the point that you can't keep up. And the only way we're going to get these bridges up where they're safe to pass is to spend local money to do it. All the parishes are being faced with this right now. You have to have a tax source to do this. So what is DOTD's role? DOTD, as I mentioned, state budgets are dwindling. DOTD is very much encouraging local cities and local parishes to pass their own taxes to solve their own problems. If you're going to sit around and wait for the state, we all know what that means. It's going to be a very, very, very long time. DOTD is committed, though, that in the event that we can pass this tax and do the other improvements that we're proposing, that they're willing to come in and fund 100% of these projects with their own money. We already know that they've made the commitment on 42, and that's going to happen either way. But they have a project to do widening on 930, an intersection with 930 and 929, and then 4 different intersections on Highway 44 north of Gonzales. So that's, if you notice that some of those intersections were missing on the previous list, it's because we've gotten commitments from DOTD to fix these. Supplemental projects, you might ask, why would you put supplemental projects? We are confident that the monies in the tax will fully fund all of the base projects that I mentioned. If we continue to have the growth that Tommy mentioned, with new industry coming into the parish, and you can certainly expect that, the tax base will grow, the dollars will grow. So we want to have a list of projects out there that we can begin to do engineering, right-of-way acquisition, and construct these projects should the tax base get large enough. So this is the map that kind of ties it all together. You see the red coming through the middle is the airline highway improvements. The red dots represent the regional intersection improvements around that corridor. The yellow dots represent the local, what we're calling local intersection improvement projects. Purple represents the commitments from DOTD. The blue crosses represent the bridge replacements. And then in olive is the supplemental projects as well. But this map, and again, this map is on the website, kind of lets you tie it all together and see where the improvements are going to be. So you ask, how will we pay for the work? Well, the bonds are going to generate about $7, $8, $9 million a year. The bonding experts tell us that they would anticipate that we can have the potential to sell up to $80 million in bonds, and that would leave about $3 million after the debt service in addition. So this program would, with the sale of an $80 million bond and a $3 million tax over 25 years, you're talking about $150 million ballpark. And then we're also hoping that these, by using the local match money, we add another $50 million or so of state and federal projects. We're shooting for this to be around a $200 million program. But we will sell bonds to get the engineering work going immediately. and to be able to go into construction as soon as possible. This is more on bonding, but I think I've covered that. So, why intersections first? I mentioned this before. It's the most efficient way to get your traffic moving quickly. If you try to deal with the whole roadway segment, you're going to expend a lot of money, but your intersections are your choke points. And our game plan here is to improve the intersections first, and as the monies allow, we will expand out into the connecting the intersections. What kind of intersections? As I mentioned, we're going to look at some roundabouts. We're also going to look at conventional, signalized intersections. Roundabouts is something the parish has experimented already. Ben, we have, what, 2 or 3 constructed? One.
The one at 42 and 431, which is now in use, and then we're working on one that should start construction next summer.
So the citizens are going to begin to see a little more exposure to these, and we've got some statistics on those to show you. But we think these are probably going to have a very good application for these lower volume intersections as opposed to having to build turn lanes and signals at every one of them. You can go on to the next one. But these are some very interesting statistics about roundabouts and just reduction of fatalities, reduction of industries, pedestrian conflicts. It's very impressive what these roundabouts do. And also it's a reduced maintenance cost. You don't have to put signals in, and signals get outdated in 5 or 10 years and you've got to replace them again. So that's our presentation. I will be around for questions as long as anyone needs after the presentation. But Chris, I want to bring you up and let him have a few remarks.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Michael, for that great presentation. I will try not to be a salesman today, but I do want to challenge you guys to just think about some things as you consider this plan. First of all, when I hear people say they're against it, my immediate response is, well, what's your plan? Because the only thing I know is doing nothing is not an option. We're not going to fix this problem just by snapping our fingers and coming up with $100 million. This is not something, the magnitude of this problem is so big, we have to ask the voters for a tax. That's not easy. I mean, none of us want to be up here supporting that, but that is a way to relieve the problem. How else is it? Are we going to just continue to wait for federal and state monies? That, as we all know, but the only way that's really going to be fixed in Washington is that's shrinking. So we need to be in a position, and this plan puts us there to help solve the problem. What does it mean to you? 16 cents a day. That's the average consumer spending divided by the population of this parish. So I say you burn that in gas money, sitting in traffic that would be relieved. A couple years ago, I brought up about the library, and what's that funded? Does it make sense to you still that we fund our roads at the same rate we fund, less than we fund the library system? That's no dig against the library. I'm simply using it as an example. I understand people's frustration right now with the federal government and taxes in general, but think about the fact that you send most of your money by far to the place furthest away that it can do you any good. I'll also ask you to think about the fact that the sheriff and the school system are fantastic in this parish. That's why a lot of people have moved here. Well, why is that? Because they had leadership, they had vision, they had competence, and they had a plan. And we chose to invest as a community in that plan. And we are seeing the results of that plan. And now we are asking you and asking the citizens to evaluate that. And we feel like we have a plan. This plan is, if you wanted to put together a plan to really seriously address this, you would want dedicated projects, money to be spent on nothing else other than a very transparent list of projects. The ones that are up there are the ones that are on the ballot initiative. You cannot be any more transparent. We cannot do anything else other than what's in that plan. So we had to have primary and supplemental, so that we could look at immediate ones that we can do immediately, the intersections, and also long-range thinking over 25 years. That's the other thing I think you'd want to see in a tax. You'd want to see that there's a shelf life. Well, there is. So we're thinking long-term, we're thinking short-term, we're thinking long-term, we're addressing it the best way we know how, and we're putting it out there. I'm simply asking that you guys consider all this and not paint it with the same no new taxes brush. think about it in detail. If we're really going to solve this problem, what's it going to take? Thank you.
And I just want to close and just ask you to look at www.lanesforchange.com and gather as much information as you can and make an informed decision. That's all we can do as elected officials. We're not running for office. I'm not running for office this year. Chris is not running. It's tough to throw any kind of tax out there. It takes a little fortitude sometimes, and we get beat up pretty much about it. But this is an opportunity to get this off the ground, to get our transportation plan moving forward, and it's something for the future of our kids. And certainly if we do have the influx of people, which I know we're going to have to move from point A to point B. It's a safety issue also. Talk to one of the sheriff's deputies. If he gets a call on Airline Highway at his substation and he's got to go to 73 peak time, sometimes it takes about 40 minutes to get there. So, I mean, somebody's life, a child, someone else could die in that time. So, there's a lot of things here that's at issue, and we got to keep looking to the future. They just did a lot of improvements at 73 and 74, but just guess what? If you go to 73 and 74 today, it's backed up again. So, we got to continually look at that. We got to continually improve that. We're working with DOTD. We have about 23 projects, I think, that's in our in the MPO, and for the TIPS, Transportation Improvement Program. We'd love to have another intersection here. We do have a project on that. We're 74, the overpass at 74. So that's something that now we do have a project that we can all work together on. We're working with them to expand the interstate and add lanes all the way through to Sorrento. So all this in conjunction together can make it work and make the future a lot brighter for our parish and our children. So I just ask you to please look at everything. Please consider what we have and make an informed decision. That's all we can do. Thank you.